Today is Tuesday, March 1st. We'll update you about the war on Ukraine, from what Russian troops are doing now to any progress from peace talks to the impact of sanctions, and even how businesses and sports organizations are pushing back against Russia. Plus, what to expect from President Biden's State of the Union address today, where negotiations stand for Major League Baseball after the deadline for players and owners to make a deal, and what Mardi Gras celebrations may look like this year. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. Well, Russia's invasion in Ukraine is going into its sixth day, and there are so far no signs it'll come to an end anytime soon. No major breakthroughs came out of yesterday's peace talks, and as the negotiators were meeting, people in Ukraine's largest cities were still hearing explosions and gunfire. Russia fired rockets at residential areas in Ukraine's second largest city, Kharkiv, and they started closing in on the capital of Kyiv. Many experts say they expect Russia's military to step up its deadly force. As one Western official told CNN, Russia is behind the schedule it's set for this invasion. In fact, no major cities have been taken yet. So that official thinks troops might start taking an even more destructive approach. Meanwhile, Ukraine is trying to solidify its ties to the West. It just formally applied to join the European Union. EU leaders have said they consider Ukraine one of us, but they also say the process to become an EU member is complex and does not happen overnight. Russia says it will hold peace talks again with Ukraine in the coming days, so stay tuned. Well, more than 500,000 Ukrainians have fled their home country since this invasion started less than a week ago. At least that's what one United Nations official told the General Assembly. And he says the number is rising dramatically by the hour. Most of them are going to the nearby NATO allies of Poland, Romania, and Hungary. Officials say they're living close to Ukrainian borders in hopes they could go home soon. But tens of thousands have gone to other European countries, and some have even decided to go into Russia. Several critics have pointed out that this is a humanitarian double standard, since this is a far cry from the treatment other migrants have dealt with after fleeing conflict in the Middle East and Africa. Hungary even built a fence to keep immigrants out, but now it's letting all Ukrainians in, papers or not. Other countries, like Germany, have been fairly welcoming to refugees from all war-torn areas of the world in recent years, and Germany is now promising to take in all Ukrainian refugees who want to go there as well. Today, the United Nations will reportedly ask for nearly $2 billion in donations for the refugees. It's preparing for up to 4 million of them. Russia's economy is really starting to feel the impact of Western sanctions, and even more of those financial penalties came yesterday. The U.S. and European Union announced new sanctions against Russia's central bank. And that keeps Americans and most Europeans from doing any business with the bank and freezes its assets within the U.S. and EU. Of course, all of this is on top of a wave of several severe sanctions the U.S. and its allies imposed on Russia in the last few weeks. Even Switzerland, that's known for being neutral, decided to freeze Russian assets in Swiss banks. Russia's ruble fell more than 25% against the dollar, which is a record drop as Russians rushed to withdraw cash. To try to slow the nosedive, Russia's central bank more than doubled its key interest rate, and the Russian stock exchange shut down. In fact, it's still closed today. NATO officials say they think Russia vastly underestimated the international community on this one. This because, for years, Russia was able to get away with a lot. In the past, even though Western countries would condemn President Putin and his regime, they still bought gas and other exports from Russia and kept relatively normal diplomatic relationships with Moscow. But not this time around. Also of note this week, the U.S. asked 12 Russian United Nations diplomats to leave the U.S., accusing them of spying. The U.S. State Department also closed its embassy in Belarus since that country has been supporting Russia in its invasion. The U.S. is also letting American diplomats in Russia leave if they want to. Tonight, President Biden will deliver his first State of the Union address. Of course, the president has been revising his speech throughout the week to address the latest developments in Ukraine and Russia. But Biden is also expected to talk about the economy at home, especially inflation. The White House says he'll lay out a plan to lower costs for American families. That will include ideas for increasing American manufacturing, strengthening supply chains, and making well-paying jobs easier to come by. Biden will reportedly also lay out more of his domestic priorities like federal paid family and medical leave and a $15 an hour minimum wage nationwide. Oh, and once again, expect to hear about the COVID-19 pandemic. If you want to watch the speech, it will be easy to find. All the major networks and cable news channels will broadcast it live. The White House will also live stream it on its website. It starts at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Then, after the president's speech, Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds will deliver the GOP response in Des Moines. That duty is usually given to someone who's considered a rising star in the party. Reynolds is known for being a strong opponent to the White House's COVID-19 guidelines, and her name has been floated as a potential presidential contender for 2024. Stay tuned. More news is coming up, but first, let's take a quick break to thank our sponsor. Why do flowers bloom? Why does it get warmer outside? Spring brings a lot of new curiosities and a chance for kids to connect with the world around them. KiwiCo embraces children's natural curiosity with their monthly science and art projects. I love that KiwiCo focuses on different STEAM topics. So that means science, technology, engineering, art, and mathematics. And it can help spark a lifelong love of learning in kids. If you're at all worried your child might be too young or too old for these, don't be. KiwiCo has a subscription line for kids of all ages, ranging from infants and preschoolers all the way to teens. Of course, grown-ups are welcome to join in on the fun as well, because remember, you are not having to actually spend any of the time researching, shopping, buying, or planning these hands-on projects. So you can just sit back and enjoy them alongside your child when they are delivered to your door every month. I really appreciate that part of it, along with the high-quality materials they use. So step into spring and celebrate the season of discovery with a KiwiCo subscription. Get 30% off your first month plus free shipping on any crate line with the code newsworthy at kiwico.com. That's 30% off your first month at KIWICO, kiwico.com with the promo code newsworthy. A stream of Western companies are pulling out of Russia, and the list is expected to grow. Leading banks, airlines, automakers, and more are cutting shipments, ending partnerships, and sending a clear message to Russia. Europe's largest oil company, Shell, announced it will abandon all of its Russian operations. It comes one day after Europe's second largest company, BP, left its stake in the Russian oil giant Rosneft, risking the loss of up to $25 billion. Also, the NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange put a pause on trading stocks of Russia-based companies. Both Volvo and GM said they will not be exporting vehicles to Russia for the time being, and both UPS and FedEx are putting a pause on deliveries in Russia and Ukraine. Disney and Warner Brothers are pausing movie releases in Russia, while Netflix says it will not add more Russian channels to its streaming catalog. That's along with the world's biggest aircraft leasing firm, AerCap, who says it will not be working with Russian airlines anymore. Also, airlines are having to reroute planes because of airspace bans, and that's causing a new strain on the aviation industry. At this point, the U.S. has not made a decision about banning Russia from its airspace like several European countries and Canada have done. Some of these recent announcements came from Western companies trying to comply with the latest U.S. and European sanctions on Russia, which have banned a range of trade in the last few days. Other companies have just wanted to show their own disapproval of Russia's actions. Either way, the string of exits will erase decades of business ties. The world of sports is showing its support for Ukraine by turning on Russia. First, the International Olympic Committee recommended that all Russian and Belarusian athletes be banned from international competitions. That announcement in itself does not ban athletes, but it does give the go-ahead for any global sports federation to take action. And within hours after that announcement from the IOC, soccer's global governing body, FIFA, and the organization that rules over the sport in Europe, banned Russia from playing in any of their competitions indefinitely. And that includes the World Cup qualifying playoffs set to start in just a few weeks, as well as European club competitions. The Football Union of Russia responded to FIFA's ban, saying it would reserve the right to challenge the decision. Hockey followed suit, by the way. The International Ice Hockey Federation banned Russia and its ally Belarus from competitions at all age levels. And the NHL cut all business ties in Russia and ruled out the possibility of holding events there in the near future. By the end of the day, even the World Curling Federation had changed its bylaws to keep Russia out of the World Championships. The Miami Marlins are looking for a new CEO. After 4 seasons of leading the baseball team, Derek Jeter announced he's stepping down. Yes, we're talking about the same Derek Jeter who was a Hall of Famer and 5-time World Series champ. In his announcement, he talked about how much the Marlins have transformed during his time with the team, and he thanked the staff, fans, and players. Jeter owned about 4% of the team and was the MLB's first black CEO. Jeter did not say much about why he's leaving, just that the vision for the future of the franchise is not what he signed up for. His resignation is another blow to Major League Baseball, which could decide to cancel some regular season games as soon as today. Midnight was the original deadline for MLB owners and the Players Union to reach a deal to end the lockout and avoid impacting the regular season. But they kept negotiating into the early morning hours and finally extended the deadline to this evening. So stay tuned. Today is Mardi Gras, which translates to Fat Tuesday. Mardi Gras is the tradition of binging on sweets and fatty foods ahead of Lent, aka the 40-day-long fasting period leading up to Easter. The Christian feasting period turned cultural phenomenon dates back thousands of years. Sites all over the world take part, but of course, New Orleans takes the cake for the most elaborate celebrations. In fact, New Orleans typically welcomes nearly 1.5 million visitors every year for its festivities. Last year, most celebrations were canceled because of COVID-19. But the glitzy costumes and decked-out floats are back in the Big Easy this year. There are just some restrictions, like shorter parade routes and mask wearing is a must inside. Well, that's it for the main news today, so now it's time for Trivia Tuesday, when we ask a different trivia question every week. But first, thanks to our sponsor. My newest pair of Rothy's shoes is the Point in Black, and they're such a staple that it's now clear to me why they are one of Rothy's best-selling shoes. In fact, People magazine named the Point the best flat for their first ever style awards in 2021. But Rothy's also makes super comfortable sneakers, loafers, ankle boots, and more. I have 3 pairs of Rothy's shoes now, and I've never had to break any of them in. I wear them right out of the box with no problems. And really, my oldest pair looks the same as my newest. They're that high quality and durable. Plus, I love that everything, yes, everything Rothy's makes is better for the planet. They've repurposed millions of water bottles into their signature thread that goes into every single one of their products. So every time I buy, I can feel really good about what I'm getting for myself and the company where I'm spending my money. So step up your shoes and accessories this spring and get ready to be asked, are those Rothy's? Plus, get $20 off your first purchase at rothys.com/newsworthy. That's ROTHYS, rothys.com/newsworthy. Okay, now back to Trivia Tuesday. Today's trivia question is, what is the largest planet in our solar system? You can answer the question and play along on Instagram. Just find and follow us at NewsworthyPod and look for the trivia quiz in our Instagram stories today. As for last week's trivia question, which is the main substance used to make a crayon? The answer is wax. You may hear crayons and automatically think of the bright colors in a Crayola box, but it wasn't always that way. Originally, the first crayons were just black and used for industrial purposes. They were made from a mixture of charcoal and oil. Then later, powdered pigments of different colors replaced the charcoal. Then it was discovered that substituting wax for the oil made the sticks sturdier and easier to hold. After that, Crayola came up with kid-friendly crayons, meaning they were colorful and safe because they were made out of wax and non-toxic pigments. The brand's first box of 8 Crayola crayons made its debut in 1903, costing a nickel. Since then, more than 400 different colors have been introduced. All right, thank you so much for tuning in today, and we'll be back with another news roundup tomorrow. Until then, have a great day.